So when I was a kid, I used to think that people with blue eyes saw the world through a blue tint, and people with green eyes saw the world through a green tint. Now, of course, as an adult, I understand that that's super silly, and that we all practically see the world through the same lens, except for perhaps maybe our friends with color blindness. This image is a graphical representation of the colorblind awareness and Department for Education and Government Equality's annotation that specifically annotates different parts of the population that deal with different forms of color blindness. What I'd like for you to do is focus or fixate your attention towards the top of the image, because throughout my talk I'm going to be kind of pushing back against this idea of normal color vision. Do any of you by any chance remember this? So for those of you who may not know, this dress broke the internet in early 2015. And if I could, I'd just like to get a show of hands. How many of you see the dress as white and gold? And how many of you see the dress as black and blue? Cool. So today my job here is to convince you that the colors that you think that you're seeing might not actually be there, but that we all may be hearing the same colors. But to do that, we're going to again need to have the talk. The synesthesia talk, that is. So by now you may be asking yourself, what exactly is synesthesia? Well, it's described as sensory impressions that relate to one sense by the stimulation of another. Simply put, a synesthete's noble senses like taste, sight, and smell are all a bit interconnected, causing for a whole cacophony of sensory expressions. Now, I found this very interesting, so I decided to dedicate quite some time into researching the condition and created artworks that were directly inspired by it. My research led me to a very specific subset of synesthesia, but probably one of the most well-known, called chromesthesia, or sound-to-color synesthesia. I wanted to see if there was a way to simulate the experience of chromesthesia for individuals who didn't have the condition. And as it turns out, it kind of can't be done. The reason for this is because chromesthesia, much like synesthesia, are extremely individual experiences, kind of like that dress. So for the next couple of minutes, I'm going to need your attention and your help while I do a little bit of explaining. If you would, fixate your eyes and your attention on one specific part of this image. Now, where it is on this image can be anywhere. It's totally up to you. But just make sure that it's only one part. And this next part is just to bore your eyes and not you. So look at that and make sure that you're hearing me. While you stare at that image, your eyes and the rods and cones of your eyes are going through something called Neuro Adaptation, or a loss in sensory responsiveness. This means that because your eyes aren't getting constant stimulus, certain light receptors in your eyes have kind of turned off, and thus causing you to see something that actually isn't there. Now, this phenomenon that you just experienced is called complementary afterimage, and by now the afterimage is probably dissipated, but as we all saw, color was a little bit deceitful, just a little bit. Now, these are all degrees of deceit based on what we can see, but what if we were actually hearing colors that weren't present? This is a direct frequency to wavelength chart, and we're going to use this as the basis for hearing color. Because again, synesthesia and chromesthesia are individual experiences, so let's do our best to use the numbers. Our eyes have three main light receptors. We have red, which clocks in at about 620 to 740 nanometers of light, or the harmonic frequency equivalent of a G or a G sharp. For simplicity's sake in this example, let's use a G sharp. Continuing on, we have green, which clocks in at around 500 to 560 nanometers of light, or the harmonic frequency equivalent of a C. And we have blue, which clocks in at around 400 to 480 nanometers of light, or the harmonic equivalent of a D sharp. All of this resulting in a G sharp major triad, which are three notes that are stacked on top of each other. So now that we have some kind of basis for a sound-to-color relationship, let's try revisiting that complementary afterimage test and see what happens. This is a view of Columbia University's signature low steps minus a few color defects. And what I'd like for you to do is fixate and focus your attention on the very center of the image where that white dot is. And what I'm going to do is play the colors that your eyes want to see, and only look away from the center when the sound stops. Okay? Now, if you noticed, this black and white photo was black and white to begin with, but your eyes saw what they wanted to hear either way. So the next time that you find yourself arguing with your neighbor about the colors of a dress, try hearing the colors of the dress instead. Thank you.